Yeah, I've done it in like, so there's, Nifty Nuggets, I believe. Yeah, so I've like hosted some in there for them, but I've never, yeah, I wasn't doing them in here, and then I was just like, why not? So I reopened the Discord because I had closed it just for everybody who's getting hacked. I'm like, why deal with the headache? But now I reopened it, so yeah, this will be our second one, and then I have a few more already lined up in the coming weeks. Thank you. I've debated doing it for YouTube. I never thought people actually cared, but there's a channel I watch, Parallax, and he's been doing some, like he had one with Ray from Nanoverse. It's like, okay, maybe people actually like the long form, because I just do them one on one or like one on three, right? With you guys when I have a call. I'm like, okay, maybe people would like to see that. So we'll see. Maybe I'll start doing that. Yeah.
Have had a huge amount of interest, and I think it's because of this. When you kind of have these long-term formats, you kind of weed through the bullshit very quickly. It's kind of hard to front over, an hour or two.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so you kind of get more to the crux of the matter.
Mm, agreed. Yeah. Plus, the questions kind of come up as you talk about it,
Mm.
like long format. So yeah, just things come to mind that you might not think of if it's just a short. Like I forget to put things in videos sometimes, but if in the interview with a person, it'll come to mind.
You know,
So
I started sharing your video when we were getting started. When people were like, "Well, what's this project?" I felt like you had explained it better than I could at that moment, because I like had my head with so many things that we were working on, and you had simplified it so well. I just said people your video. I'm like, yeah, this is what we're doing.
it's dope. Yeah, cool. So yeah, did you want to get started?
Mm, we're good. Tommy, did you put the Twitch stream up so people can
Yeah.
see? All right.
So anybody who wants to see what he's sharing, I'm gonna pin it in AMA questions. He's live streaming off of Twitch. So yeah, I guess to get started, maybe tell us who Collider Craftworks is, a little bit about yourself and the company.
All right. Juanito here is kind of interrupting. I'm sorry for the
No worries.
lack of respect on Juanito's part for interrupting us. Yeah, he thinks he's an advisor of sorts. He's telling me to not relax on the information. I don't even know what that means. Yeah, it's been a while, so maybe like I go like dipping towards like the end, and then there's not as much information maybe. All right, so
Mhm.
yeah, let me get some stuff here up on the string, so you can just kind of follow along. So you want to kind of just start from the beginning, as if people don't know us, kind of just for newcomers.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, but like the too long didn't read format there. I'm sure most people here know who you guys are, but
Yeah.
still, just give
Yeah, for
like
sure.
your
So,
pitch.
we're basically a team that is dedicated. They're a large portion of their professional career towards character production for video games. I got my start as a character designer. I started working on a lot of different indie projects that led me then to start work on bigger AAA projects. And it was kind of funny when we got started. I noticed that there was like this big shift in the industry as I was kind of growing and developing my career. I was like, oh, all the cool art is actually not being done at the big studios in the States and Canada and Europe. They're actually getting outsourced. And I realized that 10 years from now, all of the art is going to be done in outsourcing studios in Asia. So I was like, instead of going to work at one of these big companies, maybe I can look for a fast growing company outsourcing. And the reason I say that is kind of relevant is that's kind of the shift we've also done now, right? Where you're kind of looking for these kind of shifts in the market, and in trends and in consumer behavior, and then position yourself. So there was a really good opportunity. There was these small companies that were growing very quickly, and I got to work on some amazing projects. Then I started getting more involved in art direction and imaginement management, because I think I was always really interested in that kind of final product. So I was like, well, if my design is cool, but then it looks shitty in the game, who gives a shit, right? So I started getting involved in art direction, and then that led me to finally just opening up my own team, because I felt like the final product was impacted by a lot more than just art, right? It was like, how you pay salaries, what the culture is like, how people are treated, how things are communicated, what the environment is like, how ambitious are the goals of the company. And so we started off as a small team 5 years ago here in Buenos Aires, with the objective of becoming the best team in the world when it comes to character production for games. And 5 years later, I think we're almost close to 100 people. We grew aggressively since our last conversation. I think I think added 20 people to the team since we last talked.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's been wild. And basically, yeah, we're around almost 100 people now, and probably one of the largest teams in the world that solely focuses on creating characters for AAA titles. And around August last year, we decided to kind of focus our energies, moving away from kind of a B2B model and start focusing on B2C. We had been at that time working on tools for game developers to be able to create, hundreds and thousands of characters, at a fraction of the cost and time that it was taking them, by building, what is now we're calling the visual wallet. And in August, we announced to the whole company, after really spending about like a year really trying to analyze the situation. We were like, all right, we're gonna move to a B2C model, and we're gonna use the NFT space. We're gonna become part of the NFT space and really use it to build the community and the backbone of our product, and launch it directly to the public through through NFTs. We felt it was a perfect fit, and it was really scary at the time. It still is a little bit, I guess. But yeah, we made that decision in August last year, and we announced our project in December, and that's when we met. And yeah, it's a little bit our story in a nutshell.
Nice. Great journey for sure. What had you experienced NFTs in the past, or like that was really,
This was
you wanted to dive into NFTs
yeah,
and that was your
so
first?
yeah, I hadn't bought an NFT. Like the way I was kind of like, I actually spent like about a year. Um it started off slowly, and then I started getting deeper and deeper into it. And this whole time I never even bought an NFT. What I was trying to do is really understand like the fundamental shift in consumer behavior, and how it was going to impact like the future of entertainment. I was trying to see it from kind of this macro perspective and understand what was happening. Because at the beginning it just didn't make any sense to me, right? I remember the first time I heard about NFTs was from, I think, the Winklevoss brothers. I was listening to a podcast. I was like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? And then I was kind of like, I heard, about people like fractioning pieces of art, and splitting them up. And then yeah, I just started to hear more and more about it. And then one of our partners was like, we really need to look into this. So we spent a good part of the year just trying to understand and kind of create a thesis on why we should move into this space, even though it seemed like a massive risk for us. Some really smart people were like, this is ridiculous, like this is nonsense. And I'm talking about incredibly smart people, and people who've been in technology for their whole professional career, who have headed some of the biggest technology companies, were like, this is nonsense. But I think the kind of like the aha moment for me was with Artifact. When I ran into Artifact and I saw what they were doing with sneakers, then it kind of really started making sense for me from like a consumer standpoint. Of like, oh, I kind of get like how this is going to work in the future. And then it was something that I could relate to, because there was a different kind of craftsmanship involved. It was like 3D. And that's when it kind of started hitting me. I think it was with Artifact, and they also seem like incredibly brilliant guys, and well spoken, and kind of very thoughtful about the future. And I think those guys really helped me start like grasping it. But yeah, to answer your question, the majority of the time it wasn't like I was trading NFTs or anything. I was kind of looking at it maybe from a little bit of a different perspective, more than like a specific project, or I don't know what CryptoPunks were trading at, what the floor price
Yeah.
was.
So, you said you're like at 100 employees or something. So I assume still a large portion of them are still working on the video game side of things with the companies you already work with.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is something that that I think is a really kind of like intelligent way of kind of addressing innovation. It's something that Ed Catmull discusses in this book. Um, Creativity Inc. He's one of the founders of Pixar, and he talks about innovation. He's like, on one side of the door you have all of your experience and where you're strong and where you've established yourself, and on the other side of the door you have the unknown, which is the innovation, and you can't just jump to the other side with both feet. You have to keep one foot, where you're strong, where you're safe, where you've established your reputation. Then the other foot has to go into the unknown, and that's how you innovate without killing yourself. And that's kind of what we're doing, right? We're kind of getting like it's more than 20% of the company. We moved it into this project, and 80% of the company, a little bit less than 80% of the company, is working on service. And as we see success in this space, we're going to start transitioning our company more into the product model. And if we run into, like, I don't know, a year of a bear market, we're probably going to stop the kind of aggressive growth in the NFT sector, just keep a nice stable burn with a team that we already have working on it. And I think we can be releasing really good stuff with the team we already have. And that way we kind of keep our books balanced, right? And we can kind of hedge our bets when it comes to, a volatile kind of environment.
Yeah, what's your opinion on launching right now? Like so I had the video on Monday where I brought up the positives and the negatives of your project, and one of the things I said was it took quite a while to get to launch. So, what's your opinion on that? Like how people's reaction to taking all that time, where there was all the hype at the beginning? Like, how do you feel you've aged over time? And
Yeah.
then how do you feel launching in this market when we're seeing like it's very difficult for a project to, keep their floor up or even sell out?
For sure. Yeah, I guess nobody's got the answer. I guess we'll find out on the 20th. And we'll see what we did right. We'll see what we could have done better, and it will be a learning lesson, and we're going to adapt. I feel like we took a very specific strategy, and I think once you go in a certain direction, you should stick to your guns and you should be consistent. So from a, like, consistency standpoint, I really believe in building things slowly and steadily and consistently in the good times and the bad times, right? So growing our business, we started off, and there was moments where we could have grown much faster, but we kind of kept it at a steady 20-30% growth every year. And that allowed us to really build a strong team, which now when we look at our companies, we have like a less than a 10% turn. We're in this space, in the technology and art kind of space, you're talking about turn of like over 50% per company, which means that our company was really able to become strong. And that was kind of the strategy going into building a community. We're like, let's build a community slowly and with fewer people. And the people that we do have will really understand what we're doing, because we have the time to explain it to them, and we can build like deep roots instead of like all this hype and excitement, but then there's really nothing there fundamentally. So then once you mint and reveal, everyone's gone. And we're like,
Yeah.
well, we're not about that. We're kind of building this long-term um, you know, uh, tools and technology and content. And so we want to build a really strong community. So I think now we're going to see if it was a good decision or if we could have been more open. I guess we're going to see now, right? Because inside our community, I think internally it feels really bullish. People really believe in what we're doing, and I don't think it makes a difference for them because they're kind of thinking about what we're doing in essence more than just an NFT. From the outside, there might not be enough external pressure from the market to get like this crazy floor price. Who knows? Like I have no idea. I think there's pros and cons of releasing in a bear market. What do you? I have one thing, but like, what do you think? If you're looking at it from those perspectives, like having a small, really strong, tight knit community who believes in what you're doing, or kind of have like this larger, more hyped project, and kind of like the pros and cons of that.
I mean, I think we all like myself included, we're all here to make, profits. So
For sure.
if something isn't going to be profitable, I'm probably not going to put my money there. I probably won't mint it. I tend to just check the floor. I think a lot of people do have that mentality towards it. Like
Hmm.
it's nice to, I get it. You want to launch a project and you have this dream, but from the outsider, from a lot of people who are investing in this stuff, nobody wants to park their money into something that's just gonna tank and go under what they paid for it. Like that's
For sure.
at the end of the day, we all like preach this community and stuff, but if the community is not going to be, if the price isn't there, the community won't be there. That's how I feel. You might have a small core, but if
Yeah,
you want, like if Bored Apes went to zero tomorrow, there would not be all of these like diehard Bored Apes fans.
for
People
sure.
might say they'll still be there, but they wouldn't. Like a big reason why they're so desired is that price.
For sure.
So I do think the price and having a good mint, all that stuff is important. And then on top of that, like your community can thrive. But if that stuff hits, that's just my
Yeah.
view about it. If not, like there's 100 projects, maybe not now because we're in a bear market and there's like next to nothing coming out. But there's so many projects launching every day that if you don't knock it out of the park, people kind of forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also kind of the way I think about it too is I think sometimes a bear market can actually work in your favor, um, because there's not a lot of good options, right? So I think few people stay in bear markets because few people can, and I think that's when the cream really rises to the top, and you actually see what people are made of, and who can actually thrive in adverse situations. So if you're thinking about like a store of your capital or your wealth, like where are the good stores of value, right? You go, would I just leave it in ETH? Who knows what's happening to ETH? It could go up, it could go down. You can't keep it in dollars because it's the same issue. Stable coins, the same issue. You can get gold. Like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to store your value? And I think that's where we're well positioned, where people go, okay, what are these guys building at the end of the day? Do we believe what they're building and the technology behind what they're developing and their vision is really going to win out over the long run? I think it's a fairly solid proposition of a store of wealth. I mean, of value. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to be really interesting. Also, you're also talking about a smaller collection, so it's not like a 7,000 piece. You're talking about something like 3,890 pieces. So I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll definitely learn from the good, from the bad, and we'll be better for it. But internally with a community, I feel that people are really like solid as far as like what we're doing and where this thing is heading. So we'll see. Um, no,
I
it's good.
think my biggest issue with
Yeah.
like 99% of NFTs
Hmm.
is if secondary sales die, the
Hmm.
project's dead, right? The team can't feed themselves.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is like even if your secondaries die, like you have a company
Mm.
backing this project,
Yeah.
so it's going to keep building out no matter what. And on top of that, you guys are building products. Like that's something I liked about the PXN launch we saw. I'm no longer holding my PXNs, but they're building multiple products. They're trying to build a competitor to Discord, and they're building a marketplace. So I'm sure they have a way to monetize that. So maybe
Yeah.
this is a good segue for you to discuss like what you're launching. So you have multiple things. You have the NFT, you have the visual wallet, and you have the game. If you want to speak to all three of those.
Yeah. Let me move here a little bit. Unfortunately, on the Twitch stream, for whatever reason, we aren't streaming at a nice quality, but I think it'll be decent enough for people to see what I'm sharing. So what you guys are going to see here, this is our internal production tool that we use to create avatars. So we've discussed this in different times, like the value behind what we're doing is actually supported by like real world production costs and real world asset value, so to speak. So like a AAA asset like these, like an avatar, if you were to get the same one built by somebody else, it'd probably cost you somewhere between $10,000 $20,000 on the low end. So there's actually like a real production cost, whereas maybe a lot of JPEG projects or whatever, NFT projects that are like images, if you go get them done by an artist, it would cost you maybe $200, right? So there's that. The reason we can build this without going broke is that we've built this tool where basically we create all of the content that we want in the collection, then we make it all work together. Um, and it's actually a manual job where you actually have to get all of these assets to work together. There's no like automatic way of doing that. And then you have to make sure that they deform well and there's no clipping. So this is our production tool. And this is what we're going to use to build the visual wallet, which is basically very similar to this. The big difference is that it's all on chain. All these assets are on the blockchain, and they're connected to users' wallets. And it's a marketplace, right? So you can buy assets, you can sell assets, maybe even stake assets. And once you have what you want and you have your character set up, you can jump into games and experiences. The reason I like experiences more than games is that I believe there's going to be a massive demand for and production of these kind of experiences done by third parties, not us. So right now what we're doing is we're building a game called the Mosh Pit, which is basically the first experience for people who have their avatars. They can jump in, play with friends. We're still trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do for the rewards. We want to make it rewarding, right? Besides just the fun aspect of it. So it's either, if it's going to be tokens or credits or actual assets themselves, legendary helmets and God knows what. We're still figuring that out. And we know that that part is going to be really important, but we definitely don't want to brand ourselves or attach ourselves to like a play to earn. What we do want people to be rewarded for playing the game, right? So what this is that this is a third person shooter called the Mosh Pit. It's a what's it called? A deathmatch arena. And the idea is for you to be able to just jump in, play for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. This is really kind of focused for people who don't really have a lot of time on their hands. This is also going to be pixel streamed, so you're going to be able to use it off of just a normal computer as long as you have good internet. The idea with this is this for kind of be a showcase of what's possible and hopefully inspire other creators to create content for the visual wallet and for users also to mod and for it to just be like the kickoff of other games and experiences we're going to be making. The way we're going to scale is not necessarily making these massive games that take 2 or 3 years. So for example, if our development team scales and we have the funding to do it, we're not going to just build like a huge team. What we're going to do is probably have 2 teams developing 2 separate games. So you're going to be able to release 2 games that year. And if you have more, you have 4 teams working on 4 separate games. And as these games find success, you invest more in growing these experiences. But the idea is not to have these long 2-3 year development cycles. So yeah, the Mosh Pit is really kind of the showcase for the visual wallet, and yeah, that's what we're working on. And something that's pretty cool. I know you mentioned the weight between here, let me see
Reveal?
this. Yeah, between the mint and the reveal, and I want to show you guys something. So actually, no, this is Jesus. Where is that? Dude, I have so many windows open. Aha, there we go. All right, so between the mint and the reveal, you're first gonna people who are holding the ciphers are gonna have access to a pre-alpha demo of the visual wallet. So you're going to be able to see what it's like to edit these avatars. You're going to be able to see the quality in the assets. And I think you're going to have like this real like firsthand experience of how cool this is. And, imagine like being able to connect that to your other NFTs and slap an NFT onto one of your sneakers or a hoodie or something. I think that's really going to, kind of set off some ideas there for our community. And then after that, you're going to have the full experience. We're building your character and then putting it into the Mosh Pit and playing. We're going to have a leaderboard. So in like whatever it is, the top 10 will receive like some sort of legendary item. And all this is going to be happening before the reveal. And hopefully that will build a lot of confidence in what we're doing. We also have some other cool reveals during this time. But that's like that's kind of like the heavy lifting that's going to happen between the mint and the reveal. So you should be able to jump in if you haven't traded your NFT yet. If you hold on to it long enough, you might be able to test it.
And I'm jumping in with a default.
You're going to be able to, yeah. So what you're going to be able to do, this is not going to be the avatar you minted yet, right? So what you're going to be able to do, that's why it's a demo. You're going to be able to first build your own characters, see what that's like. And then in the, right here at the end, you see a Mosh Pit. You're going to be able to build your avatar, create a character, and then put it into the Mosh Pit. So you're going to have like the full experience. And there's like a lot of tech that goes behind actually making this possible, because it's all being pulled from the servers, basically the way it would behave once these assets are NFTs. So you're basically pulling these assets, compiling them, and then sticking them into a game, which then is going to basically be like the aha moment where like, oh, anybody can create an experience. I can create an experience, plug it into the visual wallet, and do the same thing, basically compile this avatar and stick into a game, and then pull it back out and have all of it in the visual wallet. So there's a lot that goes into actually making this functional.
In terms of the visual wallet, like I remember one of the selling points you had told me was like you make avatars for companies, and now that you're doing it with NFTs and everything, some big brand, I'm just going to throw a name, like there's no deal or anything. Let's say Louis Vuitton, they want to make their own NFTs. You'll not only do you have the skill to make their characters for them, then it'll all be compatible with your wallet. Like maybe you can't drop any names, but has there been this Web2 brand interest? Have people been approaching you and asking you about your technology and your avatars?
Yeah, I can give you two very clear examples without giving any names. Um, so there's a production group that works with some well-known musical artists. They're going to go on tour, and basically they want a virtual experience for fans that are going to be part of this tour to be able to jump in and interact, even though they are not in that city yet, and all this kind of stuff, right? And then they want NFTs and blah blah blah. Now they have this whole idea, this whole experience. They have the support of very high profile musical artists, but the problem is that the avatar experience that they currently have kind of sucks, because they're using an avatar platform that frankly is not cool, right? And if they were going to develop this from scratch, you're literally talking about years of development, which they don't have. So they're looking for a plug and play solution that is on chain, and it's Web3 compatible, and they can just plug it into their Unreal Engine experience that they're building. And we're like, we can't help you guys right now, but we don't need to. Like literally, if you guys are building the Unreal Engine, everything we built will be compatible with what you guys are doing. They basically wanted to put this in their roadmap and tell their investors like, hey, we've locked in this deal with this company, and we're like, unfortunately, we can't help you guys now, but everything that we're building is going to be compatible with. We don't need to build anything specifically for you guys. Then we have another one another company that's working with some of the biggest sports franchises in the States. It's the same thing. They're building an experience for the fans for these sport franchises, where fans are going to come in, be able to create their own avatars, buy NFTs, buy cool merch from these clubs, and they need a cool avatar experience. And what they have, again, sucks. It's just not cool. So they're like, they have these great ideas, they have the great brands behind them, but they're just not cool. They look like they look pretty sad, the solutions that they have right now. And they're not on chain, and if it's like, these are the kind of problems companies are running into. And I foresee a world where basically every brand is going to need to have some sort of interactive, immersive experience for their customers. And that's going to be powered by some sort of avatar experience. Like the user needs to be represented in some way, right? So that's kind of the conversations we're having regularly with, and that's why we're like so confident about what we're doing as well. This kind of thing of like, oh, we're not going to create all the experience, other people are going to create it. The reason we're so confident about it is because we have these kind of conversations regularly. Then there's other opportunities where the ones that I'm the most excited about is like, think about all the musical artists and athletes that are never going to get a Nike deal, right? Like, think about it. There's, in every country, there's probably thousands of them with millions of fans, right? They're never going to get the Nike deal. They're never going to get that big sponsorship, but they've got millions of fans, right? So all of a sudden it's like, hey guys, we have the production, we have the distribution, and what's it called? We also control the supply, right? We can build all of it for you guys. You guys don't need to know anything about Web3. You guys don't need to know anything about smart contracts or NFTs or communities, nothing. All you guys need to do is just tell us what you want. So let's say a musical artist is like, hey, I have this idea for this cool merch, this jacket, these sneakers. They're never going to get that Nike deal for the sneakers, but we can build it for them, and boom, it's out in the market. 1 million fans might have signed up to be able to buy these sneakers, and they're inside of our network, and they're inside of our visual wallet. Now they can jump into other games and use those those assets, right? So I believe there's a massive opportunity right in the middle there, right? Not in the huge brands, but the ones right in the middle, right? Because Nike, they already have the distribution, they already have, the production. You're not going to go but there's this massive opportunity right there in the market where they're not going to be able to compete with you, right? So yeah, that's where I'm like really excited, more than like specifically like these huge brands, right?
Are you guys exploring, because you brought up Artifact before, are you exploring like physical merch as well? With like they're gonna have the virtual shoes. Are you exploring similar to how they're doing with Clonex and they have their forging? We're gonna be able to get your clothes in real life. Are you guys looking into stuff like that?
Yeah, it would be silly not to. But to be honest with you, like right now, we're just 100% focused on delivering this first, the drop, the visual wallet, and the game. Once that's done, it's in place, then we can start looking at this kind of stuff. So we're doing merch right now. So like leather bound books and, hoodies and t-shirts, all this kind of cool stuff for, holders. But that's just kind of us getting, kind of our feet wet a little bit and kind of getting a taste for it, seeing how our community reacts. But yeah, it would be silly not to, right? Because I mean, who doesn't want like the physical, of like some cool sneakers that they have or something. So I think there's a big opportunity there as well. But to be honest with you, that's not a priority right now. I kind of feel
What
like if we're successful with this drop and kind of building this this community and this ecosystem, I think these opportunities are gonna come in hot and heavy.
for sure, yeah. Could we maybe talk a bit about, so some people view NFTs kind of like a stock. So you guys have these products. What's the benefit? Like if you guys have these products, you have the visual wallet, what's the benefit for a holder of your NFTs? And maybe we can also jump into, all the airdrops you guys are going to do and stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of the product, like if your product is successful, how does that benefit me as a holder of your NFT?
All right, you're getting right to the bones, which is good, because like again, like the airdrops and all that kind of stuff. That's not really what we're about. We're obviously doing it because it's part of being part of the space, and we know
Yeah,
the
people
community
want it for
appreciate
sure.
it, and it's cool and it's
Yeah.
fun. But that's not really what we're doing, and that's not really what's going to make people rich at the end of the day. Like it's fun, but when you're talking about really like a store of value and not only storing it, but then multiplying it, um, the visual wallet's really where it's going to happen. So. Jump in here. Let me see if I have this on this one or is it the next one? So right here, these are like holder benefits, and for people who've been holding for 6 to 9 months, and then from 9 to 12 months, we haven't gotten into the details here. We're just kind of like teasing what it is, but it's basically that. It's literally once we have this marketplace up and running and you can connect your NFTs onto the clothing, you can purchase clothing, you can open this once this thing is open to a public. The opportunities are going to be immense, and we're obviously going to share that with our community because they're the ones who made it possible, right? So if we don't want to really get into the whole token thing, and we're taking our time. There's no rush, but when we do have a token, it's going to be supported by real world assets, by a large community, and it's not going to be some like fake thing, this inflated thing. It's going to have real support and a real community behind it. Once all that's in place, and then you have all of the opportunities inside of a marketplace as well, for people who are part of our community, right? There's all sorts of opportunities there as far as like rev share, discounts, all sorts of cool stuff. So our idea is for people who are really part of our community, have supported us from the beginning, and have been longtime holders, for them to have basically first dibs to whatever's happening, very much like you would an investor, right? When you do like um what's it called, they basically get a discount on whatever your valuation is as a company, and that's basically what we'd be doing for long-term holders as well.
So as a holder, I would get a share of all the sales on the marketplace of all the NFTs.
these
Is that
these are definitely these are definitely like things that we're discussing, and that's why we're
yeah?
not like getting deep into it yet, but that's
Sure, for
kind of what our
sure.
thinking is. We want people to have real tangible financial rewards for the success of the marketplace. So yeah, short term, if we do well, whatever you're holding that we create is going to go up in value. And long term, once we have this marketplace up and running, I think the opportunities are going to be huge there. as far as like if you have tokens, if you have sales, like there's a lot there.
And would that be the same token if you make your mosh pit like play to earn? Is it all one token? Are you exploring multiple tokens? And
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
you guys in talks with like lawyers for the whole securities?
Yeah. Again, like we haven't gotten into the token discussion, and we're just like briefly covered it with our community because it's still early in the game. But if you do have a successful game or a successful series of games, if you have a successful marketplace, if you have successful, physical goods, if you have successful collections, it only makes sense to have a token for all of this, and the token's value is supported by these real digital goods and a robust consumer base. We foresee that probably happening over the next year or 2 years. It depends. It depends what happens to the market. There's a lot of variables, but we do have, I think, a really strong position when it comes to kind of building building this kind of value for holders, like real world value, right? It's not just like, oh, the yeah, you get what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Maybe we could talk a bit more. So you guys are going to be doing airdrops. I see here commercial licensing. So I'm going to own the full IP rights to my cipher.
Funny you should ask. Let's put my legal hat on. All right, so the way this works is you're gonna obviously own your avatar. It's completely decentralized. We have no control over it. And you're gonna have a full commercial license, royalty free. So there's gonna be no cap, as some projects have done. They've like capped it at $1 million or whatever. There's gonna be no cap, so you're gonna be able to commercialize it to your heart's content. And there was not gonna be any secondary royalties, no matter how much revenue you have. And then the company is gonna be owning the IP of the cipher collection. It's very much like whatever you have an iPhone. You don't own the intellectual property of that iPhone. It's your iPhone.
Yeah.
You can do whatever the fuck you want with it. And the reason for this is because basically the intellectual property is the most valuable thing a company owns. Really, I would personally never invest in a company that didn't own and control their own IP. And so I think this is a really interesting conversation that happened within our community, where people were like, "Hey, how are we not going to get our the IP rights?" And so there was a lot of like communicating from our part, explaining like everything you want to do, you can do it without owning the IP, and why it's so important for the company issuing these digital goods or whatever you want to call it, why it's so important for the company to actually own the intellectual property, and how with a robust commercial license you can basically do whatever you want with it, right? So yeah,
So
that's
just to recap, so if I wanted to like go loan it out, if like Disney contacts me and they want to use it, I'm free to do that. I get 100% of the revenues. If Red Bull contacts me, they want to slap a Red Bull logo on my specific avatar, I'm free to do that, and I get all the
Yeah, what you
revenue.
can't do is you can't sub-license. So you can't grab your license and give it to somebody else, right? So your deal is your deal with Red Bull. Your deal with Disney is your deal with Disney, but then you can't license that deal out to them, right? You can't sub-license it. That's why it's an end user license agreement. It's an end user license agreement because it's a license agreement for you, right? And then you can transfer that license if you sell that asset to somebody else, but you can't sub-license the commercial rights. Does that make sense?
Sorry, what is sublicense?
Yeah,
Like,
it's basically that. You're basically grabbing like for example, if you've got a fund or another company, and then you license your license out to them. That would be a sub license, right? Where I'm like,
okay, so
I
then
get the
they can
rights
go
that I have
sell
and
it to
I'm giving
somebody.
it to
Okay,
you,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
What I can do is I can use it for myself. So if I've got a commercial license, if I've got like a deal with Red Bull, I can do that. If I've got a deal with Disney, I can do that with my asset, but I can't license that out to Disney. Does that make sense?
Yeah, gotcha.
So this commercial license is for the end user. It's for people holding the asset, right?
Yeah.
And then there's stuff
I
like if you are there's a clause in the agreement that if you were to do a sub license, that is something that you can do, but we have to agree with it first, right? So it's not like the door's completely shut. It's just you have to have permission to do that. But that's like a standard procedure in a license agreement, right? Unless it's a end user license agreement, it's limited to the user, not something that you can then license out to other people, right?
And what happens if somebody breaks it?
you know, if it's meaningful enough, like we have legal recourse, but you know, it's like you know, it's like the last thing we want is to stop people from making money and doing well for themselves. I mean, the better people do and the better the collection does, the better everyone will do. But these are legal instruments that are very important to protect the collection and to protect the whole user base, right? Because if us as a company, we don't have these legal recourses, what happens is that bad actors can come in and really fuck with a product and end up kind of destroying value for everybody. And then, you know, our users are going to come to us and say, hey guys, what the hell's going on over here? And we're going to have no legal recourse, right? So that's why it's so important to have some of these safeguards in place. So if there's really a damaging situation, you have a way of dealing with it. But to be honest with you, we have no intention of, you know, like we're not about that life, you know.
Yeah. Let's see. So I have, yeah, I'll go through a few more questions. Then there are some people asking questions in the AMA section. I just want to go look. Oh yeah, one thing I really wanted to ask about. What's with that survey? Like that, a lot of people were, including myself, were like
Dude,
really
I just
taken
want to
off
know what
guard.
you do for a living, man.
Yeah, why? Why do you want my LinkedIn?
I
Why? And I
want
know
your
you said it's
LinkedIn, bro.
optional, but
Look,
there are people who like they were told to go refill it out better. And like some, I don't know, one person told me it's to prevent bots, but then like people in my Discord, they're clearly not bots, but they had to go refill it. I don't know. I just that whole thing was
okay,
weird for me.
okay. Dude, is that we're a little bit boomer and a little web too. We just want to keep that energy. No, all right. So, yeah, when we were kind of putting this thing together, we saw a lot of, I think a lot of situations where I personally saw a lot of projects being damaged. I think by a lot of people coming in who had no idea about the project. I think there was a variety of things happening there. I think it was a lot was on the projects and how they kind of manage themselves, and you know, kind of opening the gates last second, or you know, doubling the supply from one second to another. But we wanted to make sure that whoever was holding one of our assets really understood what we were doing, and we also wanted to know kind of what our kind of consumer base or fans or community, whatever you want to call them, we wanted to know how it's structured, what their interests are, kind of where we land in the spectrum, right? To also know how to build our brand as well, right? So it's like important information. The LinkedIn and stuff like that was never meant to be something obligatory. Our team is very methodical, so, and diligent, so maybe there was like an overzealousness which wasn't necessary. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think the project is better off when you have like a clarity in who's there, who's supporting, why they're supporting it, what their interests are, and I think at the end of the day, it kind of gives us a better idea on how to position ourselves and what to create and how to communicate, because you have a better idea of, you know, what your community is. And that is actually also one of the reasons why we kind of kept a small Discord, because it was something more manageable, and you know, at the end of the day, I think allows us to build a stronger community. But yeah, maybe it wasn't like the best call in the world. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But it's good to know you thought it was it was a little off putting. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, especially like if people are really, the whole KYC thing. People get like, I didn't do KYC. I know you
Mm.
guys weren't asking for my ID and my address and everything, but for like Bored Apes, I didn't do the KYC just because I'm like, especially in my position, I don't want to put my address out there. I don't
Yeah.
want to put all this info. So people get very touchy as soon as, especially an NFT project, just asks them anything. So like, what do you do for a living? That one really,
Yeah, you're like, what the fuck? Yeah, I think
yeah.
from there, I think what was really interesting to us, I think what we're also trying to do is trying to figure out kind of like what the best path forward is in the future. So this is all new for us, right? We kind of just inherited kind of the way things are done, right? So you walk in and you're kind of like, okay, you set up a Discord. All right, we set up a Discord, and then you have a whitelist process. Okay, and how does a whitelist process work? Well, it's people who add value, and you're like, well, what is value? And then you kind of just kind of fumble into this dynamic, and then, you know, a month in, you're like, geez, man, none of this shit makes sense. So
Mm.
I think what we're trying to do is also figure out like a logical way of kind of moving forward and building our community out, and kind of figuring out more reasonable ways of allocating whitelists, and And I think having a good understanding of how our community is kind of structured, who our community is at the end of the day, is going to kind of inform the decisions we make in the future as well. So kind of understanding people, like, are we talking about, a larger percentage of professionals, more teenagers, hobbyists, like who makes up our community, right? You kind of need to understand your community, and who they are, what their interests are, and then that kind of informs the way you kind of develop as a company. And hopefully for the second drop, we actually have something a little more sophisticated, a little more thought out, and it's not just like, oh, you just add value on Discord or something. I don't know, and also not just put it like, oh, this is like for an elite club of people that we just handpick that are, like, we're trying to find that balance between an energetic, fun community that's participating and that's at like earning and getting kind of like the opportunity to be part of something, and then also people who don't have time to grind or fucking be on your Discord. Like, there's tons of amazing people who would add tons of value to what we're doing who don't have time to be all day on Discord. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so we're trying to figure that out. But what are your thoughts on the whitelist process? What innovations do you think are possible here?
I don't know. I mean, the whitelist obviously serves people in my position very well. It's much easier for someone like me to get whitelist, and then I get it from my group. I don't think we're going to see that many changes. I think it's going to relatively stay the same. The really hype projects, like you saw Moonbirds or even Trimpers, they're doing just a raffle, which, yeah, it does suck if you put in all the time. Yeah, I get it, dude. If a ton of people are grinding, they're spending hours and they don't get it, it really sucks. And for the people who don't have that time and they don't know what to do to get whitelist, that also sucks. There's no good solution. That's what I don't have the solution at all. I'm just taking advantage of the situation as it is, I guess.
Yeah, and what do you think about like the survey? Is there some like sweet spot that you think, hey, this will give you guys a pretty good understanding of the community, how well they actually understand the project, what they're getting into. These are people who you actually want to be holding one of your assets, because there's only like 3,800 of them, right? Like, what do you think is a sweet spot for that?
I don't know if you're going to get that kind of info out of a survey because, you get a lot of flippers, and I know flippers get a bad name. I can, like, dude, I'm a flipper. Like, I think you need flippers because they create volume. I've never minted an NFT that had 0 volume, unless it was like this low-key collection that I vibed with the artist, I really
Mhm.
liked it. But if it's a collection launching and there's no volume, I'm not minting. So you need the flippers to create, you wanna get on Icy Tools, you wanna get on Mobi, you need that hype. And yeah, so I don't know how many of those people are still gonna be in your community, and then how are you gonna gauge if they still, I forget if you asked for a wallet address in the survey, but yeah, how are you gonna gauge that those people are still there? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the survey almost should have come like before the whitelist,
Yeah,
not like once you have whitelist, you have to go complete it. Maybe complete it first, and then you could kind of see, okay, maybe we want this guy and this guy or girl, whatever.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know how much. In my opinion, I don't know how much it's going to help. Maybe it does give you a better idea of who the community is in your Discord, but not necessarily who your holders are.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
think the
think we
good people are they're just going to be active, and then they might share things about their life. Like I go back to to Nifty Nuggets. I know a lot of people in Nifty Nuggets. They've all shared who they are, like what they do for work, and it's just a complete variety of people. Like there's doctors to like people who just do Discord all day. There's
yeah,
I don't think there's one segment of people that you're gonna get like, oh, you're not gonna be able to put them in a box. It's just
for
everybody's
sure.
completely different. We're all from all around the world. This is worldwide, and we all do different things, have different lifestyles. So again, I'm not sure how much the survey is gonna help.
Yeah.
But data is, very important. I know a lot of people are tracking all the Twitter data. You can get a lot through the API. So maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there is a method to all of it.
Yeah, for us, it's all a journey of exploration. Yeah, I think we were concerned, especially at the beginning. I'm like, well, like how many people here kind of serious about what we're doing, actually understand what we're doing, and this was kind of one way of gauging it a little bit. Now we have a much better understanding because we've just been around our community a lot longer. But yeah, I think it did help us get a better idea. Some people were really excited to get verified and to like, hey, like this is my wallet, check out my collection.
Hmm.
The wallet was completely optional, but some people really wanted to show us like, hey, look, I'm a collector. This is what I have. So yeah, it was cool. But it's always good to get that kind of feedback. Um,
How you going to be handling whitelist for the second drop? Is it
Well,
are
that's exactly
holders
what
going
we're
to get
talking about, right? We're still trying to figure that out. What
okay?
a portion of the whitelist are going to go to we're what's it called? People who hold
Yeah.
in the first 48 hours. We're going to be taking a snapshot of the wallets. So if you have the exact same ID of the avatar, getting close to, we have to figure out if we're going to give it like a strict like month. Like, okay, by this time, if you're still holding that same thing, you have a guaranteed whitelist for the next drop. So we're going to be doing that benefit, like anybody who still has the same idea of the first 48 hours. And again, like I agree with you 100% that it's really good to have volume trade, but we also do just want to do something fun for people who are just like, oh, I was holding the first one and I still have it.
Mm.
Um, so so that's one thing that we're going to be doing for the whitelist, and then we're also going to be just keeping on with the same model, but hopefully we'll introduce a new wrinkle to this, which we're working on. I don't want to get into it right now, but we're working on something that I think could work in combination with the traditional whitelist thing, where you get people. It's so much fun. Like at the beginning, I was like, oh God, how do we figure this out? But with the factions and the faction wars and people competing and doing tournaments, and it actually got really fun and people love it. So it's a really fun way of building like friendships and connections to the collection, because you have your faction and you understand about the faction and you kind of like so we want to keep that energy. I think it's made our Discord really fun. And then we also want to find some sort of solution for people who don't have time to get on Discord and are just like, hey, I believe in what you guys are doing, and and I want to support you guys. So we'll have to figure that out.
Totally. I want to go through these AMA questions. I know you might have to go jump to another AMA soon. I just want to ask, do the factions, I see there's 5 factions, do they affect something, which faction I pick or which faction I get? Or is it
No,
purely like a fun trait?
this is actually a fun thing. This is a little sneak peek of our minting site. This is something I just got yesterday. So what you're gonna be minting is a 3D helmet. It's a gltf, which is supported now on OpenSea. I'm sure you already know, but this was a great way for us to kind of show people kind of what we're building, for people to have more of a tangible connection. And you're going to be able to what's it called, find out what faction you've minted. And yes, it's completely aesthetic. There is nothing particularly special between one faction or other. The difference is that internally in our community, there is huge followings for different factions, and there's like faction rivalries. So we believe
Uh-huh.
this is a way of also creating a lot of volume internally, even in the community, of people trying to sell theirs and buy another one. Or maybe one faction has a higher floor price than another, so maybe you sell that one, you buy two of another faction, or maybe you're just trading. So I think it's going to create a lot of fun trading opportunities, even just internally within the community, because people have like these strong attachment to their factions and stuff. And I think it will just be cool, like on OpenSea, to see like these 3D helmets. And I think people will be pretty excited to get these.
What's the GLTF thing you said? Is that like were you able to manipulate the helmet
So
or?
this is a GLTF is a file, a 3D file format that's fairly new, and it's being incorporated in different platforms. Like social media platforms are saying that they're going to start incorporating, like Twitter and Facebook. They're going to incorporate this, which means that you're going to be able to slap this 3D NFT onto Twitter. So if you like scrolling through Twitter, you're actually going to be able to see like a 3D NFT. That's not incorporated into Twitter yet, but OpenSea has incorporated it. So basically on OpenSea, people will be able to see this 3D helmet in your wallet, or you'll be able to see it on OpenSea, and then as you can see here on our marketplace as well.
But there's no like interaction with like on Cardano they have that where I could use my mouse cursor and move the helmet around. Is that
Yeah, this is what I'm doing right now.
okay? Okay, I thought it was moving on its own. You're
No,
because
no,
the
I'm
stream's a
moving it
tad
around,
laggy
and
for
then I
me.
can zoom in, and then we're all something that I want to do. We're not going to have it right now, but something I want to do is also have a QR code on the helmets, so then you can use it in VR as well. So that should be pretty fun. Just fun stuff for people to do. Until they get their
Avatar.
reveal.
What yeah, what's the NFT since it's like this full 3D? Is there gonna be like a profile picture mode?
Yeah, so what we're doing the what we're promising the community is a PFP.
Mhm.
There's other things that might happen, but we don't want to promise something and not deliver. So we're promising the PFP. Shortly after that, I think we're actually going to have a GLTF of the avatar as well. So you're actually going to be able to see your full avatar in OpenSea, like in 3D. That's something that we definitely want to do. And then you're going to be receiving your full 3D asset, and that's going to be like the final deliverables when you have your 3D asset that you can, put into Unreal Engine and run around and jump and shoot people. So those are the deliverables. The beginning, the PFP, then a GLTF of your avatar, and the fully rigged and skinned 3D asset that you can put in the Unreal Engine.
Nice. Let's quickly pump through these questions. So Sydney Crypto asks, is there going to be in real life utility that comes with the project? And they also asked, there's projects like Mechaverse and Tron Wars. Those are avatar projects. They did not perform well. How do you make your project stand out from other avatar projects?
Mechaverse.
Yeah, that was one of the most hyped at the time. It
Yeah,
happened
but
like in
but
October.
they were actually planning on delivering a what's it called, like a real 3D asset, like an avatar that you could actually use in a game engine.
I don't believe they were going that far, but it
No,
was still they were like one of the more 3D side of things. I guess Tron
yeah,
Wars is a better example of it. They
yeah,
were a 3D
it's
or something like Horizon 1 or whatever it was
yeah.
called.
I don't want to like talk shit or even pretend to know because I don't work
Sure.
at at these. So what I will say is that like you could say, oh yeah, Clone X is an Avatar project and they did incredibly well, and then you can say, oh yeah, it's because they have this track record. And at the end of the day, I think it comes down to a couple things. I think it really comes down to how you built the community. I think it has to do with like the trust people have and you actually delivering what you say you're gonna do. Um, and and I think at the end of the day is like how much do I believe these guys can actually pull off what they're saying they're gonna do, and who have like a really good track record. So I think a lot of these projects they don't have a track record of being able to deliver high volume, high quality. We've been doing it for years now, right? In like a very competitive space inside of gaming where we have hard deadlines that we need to deliver, and we've been doing it consistently. And so we have the track record, we have the team, and I guess the market will decide if we're capable of pulling it off. If we are capable of pulling it off, I think we're going to be the first project to actually deliver next gen characters, like fully rigged, skinned avatars that you can just put into a game engine and start making games with. I think we're going to be the first project to actually do that. And projects that have been around a lot longer than we have. So I think if we can do that, we're going to definitely create a lot of confidence in what we're doing. So the market will decide.
Agreed. Yeah, the background of the team definitely helps. There's a bunch that they just promise so much. Dude, I'm holding like 11 meta travelers still, and I still haven't been able to use them in a game. So that shit stings. Another question by Dim Sum Dino. If you could tell yourself something now that you didn't know before you started, what would it be?
Build like a really good community team. Like build a team specifically for Discord and like managing collaborations and whitelists, and that was brutal for a while. Like
Yeah.
it feels like it's getting out of hand. Like you don't even know like what levers to pull to make things right and to work. I think the whitelist allocation was we were feeling a lot of pain from the community when they didn't feel the process was clear or actually really understood, or they didn't think it was fair. Because you have a closed Discord, so at some point people like everybody knows who's who, and for you to know who's who, you need to live it. Like you need to be in there 24/7. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that was difficult. Once we kind of figured that out, things started rolling really smoothly. But yeah, I would have built a team specifically to manage community before starting the project.
Yeah, people don't realize how just the whole whitelist, even for me, for my group, like, dude, I do giveaways on Twitter, and man, if I don't answer them instantly, they start like going ham in the chat. I couldn't imagine running the project and like just getting flamed by people all day because they don't have whitelist or something's wrong with their
Dude,
whitelist and managing all of that.
it was so funny. There was moments where we were having discussions and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we're trying to build like technology and tools, and like this is the future of like virtual experiences, and then we're like talking about like some fucking dude showed his nipple to some girl on a chat. I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about? You're like, what are we doing, guys? Like, this has nothing to do with what we're about. It's like, so there was moments where I was like, we need to shut the Discord down and just fuck this shit. But I'm glad we stuck to our guns. Like, at the end of the day, if you're going to have games and if you're going to have, commercial products, you're going to have a community, and you're going to need a, so I'm glad we're kind of like, getting our feet wet now and learning lessons now. Hopefully one day when we have millions of users, we're going to have the people in place, and the processes and the structures in place to really manage it well. At the end of the day, every great product has a strong community behind it. So, there's no escaping it. And it's fun. Once you
Yeah.
can kind of figure it out, it actually gets really fun.
Yeah. So somebody had a question about the Discord being locked. They said with such a complex utility behind it, you're building different products and everything. It's more than just the animal PFP project. Does not having a closed Discord, the question is worded really, does having the closed Discord make it hard for the aftermarket to know about the project, and might it put them off to buy a little bit?
Um, Closed Discord versus not closed Discord.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I
this was
think
a
you guys are still at around 10K, right?
no, 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 no. ¿Cuánto
Okay, you're
estamos
much
con mi
bigger.
Discord? Yeah, I think we're like 13,000.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think it's there was a lot of people saying, "Hey, we need to open up the Discord, before the drop." And I'm like, "All right, but then what are we gonna do with the people after the drop? What, do you just kick them out?" And a lot of people just came in just for Wes, but they don't give a shit about the project, or
Yeah.
So I think, like, when you look at things, for example, like Hate Beast, right? Actually, I don't want to specifically talk about any specific project. Well, let's just say like a project, right? Where
Too late, hey beast.
yeah, there's like 500,000 people, 300,000 people, super hyped, and their floor price is amazing, and then the reveal comes, whatever it is, the price goes down, everyone leaves the server, and it's done, right? The circus is over. That's not really what we're doing. Like, we're not really like an NFT project like that. We're in the NFT space, but we're not really an NFT project, so to speak. So that would be kind of like a big L for us, even though, sure, we got a bag or whatever, but we depend on a lot more than that for this really to be successful. So I rather kind of having less hype, but a really strong understanding and a strong like a fan base around what we're doing, for a couple of reasons. One is that I think those are the projects that are really going to survive the bear markets, or the ones that have like a really strong fan base behind them. And two, it's just a lot more fun to manage, right? Like, I hear stories from some of these like super hype projects, and I'm like, God damn, I would not want to be involved in that. So I guess, who knows? I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see, and you guys can afterwards see. Like, I told them they should have had an open Discord, and we'll be like, yeah, maybe we should have, been more open. I don't know. We'll see, and we'll definitely adapt. Like, we're always trying to, learn and adapt and adjust to what's happening. So we'll see. Something that's interesting. I'll tell you one thing that's interesting. Uh, like, people that are outside of our Discord is like, dude, like 0.5 ETH, like, you guys fucking nuts. And then people inside of our Discord is like, thank you guys so much for keeping that price, because we had told people we were targeting $1,500, and since people really understand what we're doing, I think they really believe in the team and the potential of what we're doing. When we said, hey guys, we're not gonna make the equivalent of 1,500, we're just gonna lock it at 0.5 ETH, because we know what's going on with everybody, and we want to be mindful of that. Internally, people felt that it was a really good deal because they really understand what we're doing. And then people outside, they were like, oh, this is too expensive, because they don't even know what we're doing. You know what I mean? So I think it's an interesting kind of conversation of, um, quality over quantity. I don't know. We'll see, man.
Yeah, I think that also has to do probably with some of the flippers. When it's a higher price like 0.5, it might not be as flippable, but there is a psychology where when you have a higher price, you can have a higher I brought this up in my video
Yeah.
where PXN, had they done like 0.08, they would not have been at almost, they wouldn't have hit 5 ETH pre-reveal, you know?
Yeah, I
So it
actually agree
does
with
help with
you.
the floor
Yeah.
sometimes. But and the other thing, yeah, you see project like PXN had massive hype. So like they already had the nano pass, they had the success of the previous project, like their whitelist was selling via shards for at least 1 ETH. So they had a lot backing it. like their way of doing, they did Dutch auction. I feel they promised a Dutch auction, and then they kind of went ahead, and it was almost like a raffle. You get to the website, you're raffled in, so it's not really a Dutch auction. It's just you got to pay 2 ETH, because people who got through the door, they're just going to mint. So
Yeah.
like 2 ETH, that's high. So yeah, I think right now we're seeing a lot of projects do Dutch auctions. They start really high, so it's not uncommon, the point 0.5, and you guys are less than 50% of their supply, or the supply of most projects.
Yeah, that's also something I think we have going for us. It's a small supply. So yeah, who knows, man? I guess we'll see. It will be fun to watch, though. I'll tell you that. I think what will be fun is all the secondary sales, and the kind of this market dynamics where you don't just have like one floor price, right? Because you have these different factions and you have different kind of fan bases. So who knows what's going to happen there? I think it'll be pretty interesting to watch. And maybe kind
Yeah,
of new to the space too.
for sure. People have I really like Chosen. That's just more my style, like the black, the suit, and all that.
Yeah, well,
So
for example, let's say Chosen they have like one of the largest communities right now. So let's say you find out you have a hyper and you're like, fuck this, I want to get a Chosen. Chosens are a little more expensive, but you're like, fuck it. You flip it, you pay a little bit more, you get another one. And then let's say one of the other factions has less demand and they're cheaper, and you're like, actually, I'm actually, what's it called? Not going to get a Chosen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to buy whatever 5 of these that are cheaper because I believe in the long term, whatever value. And then the value of those go up because whatever, some dude just picked up 100 of them and is not letting go of them. So who knows what's going to happen? I think it'll be pretty fun to watch. We'll see. We'll see. No one knows. So it'll
and
be fun.
so somebody asked, like, you guys are primed for collabs. Do you have any plans to collaborate with indie game developers or supporting that niche?
Yeah, yeah, we definitely do. Even in the space already, we're in talks with some of these teams. We haven't been able to really sit down with them and like build out like a real plan. For example, My Pet Hooligan, they dropped our avatar inside of their thing and they had it run around with the rabbits, and we've had a couple of these kind of just fun riffs with some of the projects. But once things have calmed down and we kind of have our kind of establish ourselves first, we're gonna start really looking into how we can connect our visual wallet to other games and stuff.
Here's a tough question. What happens if you guys don't sell out?
We weren't planning on selling out from the very beginning. Like when we came here, we actually didn't think we'd be like successful or anything. We thought it would take a while. We were planning on like, so for us to, make characters for a game, you're maybe developing for like 2 years, 3 years. So, we came into this kind of like with that kind of a plan, like a 2, 3 year plan. And we thought it would take a while for people to notice us or even care about what we're doing. So basically the whole model we have set up, the reason 80% of our company is still working on services is that way we have a very like stable kind of financial system. So if things don't go well in one thing, we can kind of balance things out. So yeah, it's for sure it's gonna hurt and it's not gonna be the ideal situation, but like I'm so confident about the stuff. Some of the coolest stuff of this collection hasn't even been shown yet. Like when you mint, like basically there's radio silence from the team. When we mint, we're gonna keep on showing stuff every week, like new stuff. We haven't shown some of the coolest stuff from the pioneers yet. We haven't shown the legendaries yet. Some of the coolest stuff of the collection hasn't been shown yet. People haven't gotten access to the visual wallet yet. People haven't been able to play a game yet. So all these things are going to be happening, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it affects the price. So I'm pretty confident about what's going to happen after that. But we have a long-term vision, and we're very confident about what we're doing in the long term too. So I think
Do you
we're
plan on continuing? Sorry, do you plan on continuing the streams?
oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, it's like yeah, like for me it's like we're building we're building a product like
Yeah,
we're gonna be here for years. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
and the way you build momentum is day after day, week after week, just putting in the work. Like there's no quick fix. I mean, it's weird because in the NFT space, it's like I can't believe how like the immediate success. Like it makes no sense to me. Like from anything I've ever done in my life, nothing has ever moved this quickly, or have I ever seen this kind of support or traction. I'm used to
yeah.
grinding for years to see like a ray of hope, right?
Yeah.
For me, like the community we've been able to build, the visibility we have, the support we have is already a massive win. It's way more than what I was expecting. Um, so yeah,
Also, yeah, one of the things I like about My Pet Hooligan is they do like I think it's bi-weekly. I wouldn't call them AMAs. It's almost like a demo. Yeah, it's like AMA/demo. That's one thing I like about them. So yeah, if you guys keep doing the streams, I think that's very beneficial.
for sure,
Your community will appreciate it. You're showing like the updates, what's happening. So we have a
100%.
question here about the price. So why is mint 0.5? Why couldn't it be cheaper due to market conditions? So I guess what was the logic behind your pricing?
Yeah, it's funny when you think about it, like from our perspective, it is cheaper because of market conditions. We were targeting $1,500, and that's what we told our community. We're really clear and explained like the cost, the real world cost behind creating one of these assets, which is very different than making 2D art. Um, so we were very clear about that with the community. And then when we saw everything that happens, we're like, hey, instead of adjusting the price, we're going to leave it at 0.5. And we know that's really high, maybe, or not, I don't know if it's really high or, it depends who you talk to, right? There's some people that say hey, it's completely reasonable for what you're delivering in relation to other NFT projects when you talk about like the real world costs. So I guess it depends who you talk to. For us, the way we adjusted to market conditions is leaving it at zero point 0.5, which is substantially less than what we were expecting, which was our target per asset. But again, we believe in the long-term value of what we're doing, and the community seemed to be really excited about us, locking the price. And so if I had to say like why it's more expensive maybe than what you would expect to see, it's just the production cost of making one of these assets is incredible. Like just to give you guys an idea, it takes like 3 weeks to just make one sneaker, right? Like if you think
Yeah.
about like a PFP project, in a month, maybe you could finish like a whole collection, like a full, NFT collection. You can do it in depending on the level of complexity, you could do it in a month with a couple artists, right? Whereas just
Hmm.
making one pair of sneakers, it's like 3 to 4 weeks, right? So that just gives you kind of like a sense of the complexity. And then you have to integrate it, and then you have to make sure all of these assets work well together. So just like we're in the NFT space, but we're not really like an NFT project, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Somebody asked, speaking of like the how long it takes for the art, some Mecha Hardly Soft here asks, have you already begun the second collection?
yeah, we're gonna be doing like an internal reveal to holders inside of our Discord. So you guys are going to see all the pre-production that's been happening for the next collection. It's a horror themed collection, which is completely different than what we're doing now. And we're going to be doing like a little reveal for people who are holding ciphers, and then we're going to do like the world premiere in October for Halloween.
Nice. Here we have from definitely DJ. Why basically did you launch on Ethereum? Why not? I think he's trolling a little bit Solana Summer, but why not launch on Solana?
Funny you should ask. We have actually a pretty fun announcement regarding Solana, but we'll leave that for another day. But that is definitely an internal conversation that's happening. So even if you are trolling, I appreciate the question because that is
No,
actually
no. The question wasn't troll. Just when he said Solana Summer, it's like a meme going around
yeah,
right now.
yeah,
But the question itself wasn't a troll.
yeah.
He
But
does say you could be number one if you launched on Solana.
yeah, that's actually there's some stuff that we're gonna be announcing, but yeah, we're definitely interested in that community. We believe there's some really interesting people in that space, and that have like a really strong focus on gaming. So we'll see.
Interesting. I'm assuming you're hinting towards a second collection, or maybe you're doing some like cross chain stuff. I know you're working with the Byte team,
Yeah,
so maybe they have like a solution.
yeah. Maybe there's a Solana edition,
Oh, I see.
very limited Solana special edition. We'll see.
Here we got from Mecha Harley Soft. Do you see a game like Call of Duty using Collider Craftwork? So I assume he means Cypher because you've already worked with
Yeah.
video game companies. Avatars in the future.
Um, Not really. But that doesn't mean you're not going to see development companies that become extremely successful. So I think kind of like one of the huge inspirations for me was PUBG. It was a small team when they got started. and they actually built a lot of the game with just assets that they just bought off of the marketplace of Unreal. And I think you're going to see this happening, where you're going to see small teams gaining access to this really high caliber content right off of the shelf, like the stuff that we're doing, and being able to build like incredibly successful games. So we're kind of like betting on those developers rather than, again, I don't want to talk shit about anybody, but I think certain models in gaming developer are going to get very old, and they're kind of going to lose their ground to more efficient, aggressive, dynamic models. So if I had to draw a comparison, I would say what YouTube is to network television. If you told somebody, 20 years ago that so 15 years ago, that YouTube was gonna, basically destroy network television, they would have laughed in your face, because what YouTube was, and like it was. But over time, you can't compete with that amount of content being generated by the public, and this kind of like crowdsourcing content is king. So I think these kind of big titles that cost $500 million and take years to develop are gonna kind of become a little bit irrelevant over time. That's just my.
Do you think the future of gaming is that I could just drop in any NFT character or any vehicle or whatever that I want into any Unreal game or eventually Unity game?
Yeah, I believe a lot of like game development companies are going to start moving in this kind of Roblox um kind of direction, where it's like this kind of sandbox, basically, because Unreal, this is something that's never been possible before, because there was never like a industry standard. And what Unreal is being able to do, because of all of the money that they're getting from Fortnite, instead of buying yachts or whatever the fuck you would do, they're reinvesting it into the ecosystem. So they give grants. They gave us a $75,000 grant because they just liked what we were building, no strings attached, and they're doing this with
Nice.
hundreds of companies. So they're investing like this shit ton of money into the community, the game development community, people who are developing technology, and then they're just investing a shit ton of money in building making Unreal incredibly powerful. So they're going to become the industry standard. They're being used to make movies right now, so like the Matrix, or it's going to be a lot cheaper to make like, for example, Mandalorian was a lot of it was done on the Unreal Engine. So they're going to become the industry standards, and you're going to see this line blurring between games and movies. And so, for example, to just give you an idea, let's say Squid Games comes out, and we know that Squid Games will come out in 6 months, and we can lock in a licensing deal with them. When Squid Games comes out, all of a sudden you have all that content on the visual wallet, and you have 100 developers all over the world having access to this content. They could just be making hundreds of games based off of Squid Games themes, and that would just drive up the whole franchise, right? Because people want to like see the series and then play it, right? So yeah, I do believe there's going to be a huge mix, and I believe that making games and experiences is going to be easier and easier. So that's actually something we're doing on our Discord. We're giving rewards, really big rewards, to people who are building games. So there's people who've never built a game in their life that are now making little mini games with the avatars. And some people are like, hey, I could actually make a living off of this. So yeah, I really do believe having interactive experiences, the skill level being lower, and people becoming much more sophisticated as creators.
Yeah, so I'm getting a tap on the shoulder here. Maybe I'll just try to get in some more questions real quick. So for the second drop, how female version? It's really weirdly worded. I guess they're asking, is there going to be a female version?
Yeah. Yep. The second half of the dropper are the female ciphers.
Okay, okay. And how? Okay, that's what they're asking. How is it related to the first drop?
Well, it's all part of the same universe, where you have these factions, and you have these themes, but they're female ciphers, and we're also going to be adding new elements and just kind of expanding the aesthetic. What's really cool is that like the helmets that you have from a male cipher will work with a female cipher. Gears and weapons, they'll work between male and female ciphers. So if you got an airdrop of like a cool helmet, you'll be able to use it on your female cipher if you got a female cipher or something.
Then they ask, can we sell or transfer gear, for example, the bags in the
Yes.
visual wallet? I guess that's going to play into your
Even before
marketplace.
that, so in the airdrops, if you get an airdrop of a helmet, you'll be able to sell it on OpenSea. It'll be separate from your avatar.
Okay, but not within the wallet. I'm going to have to do it on.
Yeah, at the beginning when we don't have the visual wallet up and running, so like we're talking about July, you're going to be able to
Yeah.
do it on OpenSea. And then once we have the visual wallet, obviously you'll be able to do it there.
Okay, the marketplace is built in right away to the
Yeah.
visual wallet.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what the visual wallet literally is. It's a visualizer of your assets, but more importantly, it's a marketplace.
And then Panda One asks, a lot of projects have been having issues with their contracts. What have you taken place to make sure it's a smooth mint? I know the answer, but maybe you want to tell them.
Yeah. So we've partnered up with Byte. They have extensive experience. They're the guys behind the contracts for Neo Tokyo. They have quite a bit of experience with tokens, and they also have their own marketplace. So they have a solid reputation. And then we have two auditors. We have two separate companies that are auditing the contract. Some things that we're doing as security measures. You won't be able to mint from a hard wallet. You are not going to be able to mint from the contract. You can only mint up to 3 from one wallet. What else?
How many whitelists versus public are you guys doing?
We're not doing any public. They're all
Okay.
whitelists. So yeah,
So
that is
some people
also another
have up
layer
to
of protection.
3 mints?
Sorry?
So some people have up to 3 mints?
Yeah. I don't know
Nice. So
how they did it,
you could
but
stack okay, but on one wallet you could stack multiple whitelists?
yeah, and you can with one mint, basically you can mint them together. So you don't have to pay one gas fee for the 3 of them.
Okay, yeah. Cool. So maybe you want to end this by saying the date of the launch
Yeah.
and everything for
Yeah,
people who
so
don't know.
so we're minting on the 20th, so we're right around the corner, and the reveal is going to be the 30th of June. And between the mint and the reveal, you're going to have access to demos of the visual wallet. You're going to have demos of the game. You're actually going to be able to get in there, get saucy, get wild, and have access to what we're building. And yeah, may the chips fall where they may. And we can talk afterwards, and you'll be like, I told you, or I'll be like, see, I knew what we were doing all along, bro.
Yeah, I hope it's the latter. I hope it's the latter.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know there was some whitelists to give away. I guess your team is going to go through. I'll leave the questions up. I'll
You
lock
you
the room so
you
nobody
you
more
can
else
you
can.
yeah, you can decide who those go to. Just send us their wallet.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
We'll let you be
So
the
thank you very
arbiter of
much.
truth and justice.
Yeah, I'll pick my 3 burners. That's what
Yeah.
So thank you, Daniel. This was great. I really appreciate you joining us for an AMA.
All right, and appreciate you, man. I still remember the day you jumped on with us, and we were like, "Oh, guys, don't do that. You're gonna get wrecked." It was so funny. I felt like I had just walked into the jungle, and there was like, the first dude you meet on your quest, and he's like, "Here, let me show you how this thing works." It was good, man. I appreciate you.
For sure. Glad I could help.
All right, guys, take care.
Take care. Gonna end it here. Thanks everybody
All
for
right,
joining. And don't forget to
adios.
mint on the 20th.
Adios. Adiós. ¿Cuándo empieza la otra? ¿A las 9? ¿Con quién es? Con Chupami de la pija. Con su vieja. Y Jonito venimos con. ¿Cómo estuvo el CryptoGorilla? 1 hora y media se clavó. Se pegó una panzada el Crypto. Che, es un pirata y dice, oh, vamos por my free burner wallets. ¿Viste? Es un pirata, tío. Me dice, no, hijo de puta,